Right, this afternoon we're looking at the Tarras 09s that have just come in. A lot of fuss is made about Tarras because of its incredible focus and appreciation for regional differentiation. In this case they have two vineyards, one called the Steps, and then as the crow flies, just another 6 kilometers away, the Canyon. And you couldn't find a more different set of circumstances and generally a more different product that results as a result of these two influences. The Steps is very much a cool climate interpretation of Pinot. It's right on the river in the Gippsland Valley. It's made by Rob Dicey, who's the Yapi who makes wine for Mount Difficulty, which is very famous in Singapore and New Zealand. The Canyon, on the other hand, is higher climate, hotter, and the kind of attributes that we look for in the high climate canyon is going to be far more robust, meaty kind of components. A lot of people talk about the two being the male and female of a union, which is ultimately the estate, which can be a little esoteric and a bit fussy. Generally, when I've looked at these wines in the past, I've enjoyed the estate, which is the blend of the two, more than the single vineyard. A lot of people say, the joke goes in New Zealand that the New Zealanders actually make the estate wines to sell and the single vineyards to focus on as their best and more favoured wines, and it also often shows that way in the production levels that they have of the single vineyards versus the two together. So we're going to look at the Canyon first, which is the male, more robust, etc. It's a very, very big nose. I actually need a cup of tea and a lie down after just smelling it. That's probably, of all the terraces I've looked at, had the most profound and aggressive nose at this point in its time. It's also important to remember these wines are very young, right? So they definitely aren't ready to be drunk yet. These wines generally, as a rule, need about 6 or 8 months to find their feet. Yeah, this is more esoteric. It's a lighter, more perfume, more floral kind of nose. Definitely not as aggressive or robust as the Canyon. And then we'll leave the estate to taste and nose on its own. So this is now the Steps. The texture that I always rabbit on about is there, very clearly. It's incredibly silky and smooth. Amazing length. It just goes on, and I'm still tasting it now after a good few seconds of having swallowed it. It's a big, big wine. It definitely isn't something to be drunk immediately. This is going to be scary. I can actually feel the top of my mouth actually being ripped away with the power and the intensity of the flavour of this. It's spice personified. It's a massive, big, big wine. I'm a little scared of it, but I'm sure in time that's going to settle and smooth out like the 7s and 8s that we've looked at before with the database. This is now the blend. I'm not sure of the components of the two. I would dare say that there possibly might be more of the Steps than the Canyon, because this Canyon is so big and such a brute of a wine right now. It could easily overpower the kind of sensibilities of the Steps. There it is. There's a fantastic fusion of components and flavors. The nose is beautiful. There's a kind of silkiness that comes out of it that wasn't evident in the first two single vineyards on their own. It's definitely the sum of the two parts. And once again, I'm a lot more excited with the estate from a commercial point of view than the single vineyards. It might be fun when we market this, of course, to give the database the opportunity to see all three and decide for themselves. But it's a very exciting and interesting experience to actually look at these three in one row. So at the end of the day, before the printer dries me out, don't worry too much about what the wine critics say. If you like it, just drink it. Cheers.